Let's watch as I create our op artwork, just using the ruler, my pencil, and my paper. After you've watched, you can go ahead and create it with me, but first I want you to follow along with me. I put my name on my paper, always our first step. Nice and large so I can read it. Turn that paper over. Now we're going to use our ruler to mark every inch. This side of my ruler is millimeters. They're way too small, really close together. I want inches where it goes 0 to 1, and this is a nice amount of space for me to make my op artwork with. It even says inches on it. I'm going to take this side of the ruler and line it up with the very bottom of my paper. This still has a gap in it, but what I need to do is take it and line it up. And if it's lined up, it should be about 8 or 9 inches long, depending on your paper. And then I need to hold that ruler and that paper, just like we've talked about before. I don't want either one wiggling all around. So I'm gonna probably put a finger on the paper and both of them. Line it up, and I'm gonna try and make sure my hand is not on the numbers I need to do, if possible. So there, now I can reach 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's a little silly, but it's going to help me a lot in my measuring. So the first dot you need to make is at the 0. You don't always need to do this, but on the first one for sure, you need to mark 0, 1, make a dot, make sure you're not making lines, 2. A line is like this. I want you to really take that pencil and just spin it around a little bit and make a circle on the 3, 4, 5, 6, careful not to move that ruler, 7, and the last one is that last corner right at 8. Now I'm going to go around and do all my other corners, lining it up, and this time I won't have to do my 0 line because I already have a dot. So as long as my ruler lines up with it, I know I'm good to start. Careful to line it up at the beginning. I know it takes a little longer, but it makes a lot of difference in the end. It makes a huge difference. So here we go. 1, making those dots the whole way. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the last corner is 8. I can tell my ruler's lined up because these are really close to the edge. Let me show you if you're rushing and you're not keeping your ruler in the same spot, it might kind of move like this and be crooked, and those dots are not going to work. You're going to have to erase them and redo them. Who wants to do that? The other thing is if I put my ruler here and line it up, but then maybe I move my hand as I'm working. So let's just do a quick non-example. There'd be 1, 2, 4, 7, 8. Are these in a nice straight line? Absolutely not. You're going to have to erase them, slow down, we don't want to be rushing, and redo it. These first two are pretty good, but when I bring that ruler to it, they're not in the right spot. In op artwork, in this op artwork in particular, we need it to line up. So this is why it takes so much time at the very beginning, lining it up, put my fingers in the right place to kind of hold it down. I don't want to make any huge mistakes. And make sure it's in the right place. Good, I got all these little eraser pieces on there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and my last corner is 8. Last time. 1, 2, 3, I'm holding this down as I move my fingers. 4, 5, 6, 7, and I already have one of 8. Now I dots around the whole thing, and I get to make 2 dots in the middle. I can put them close together, but that's going to mean a lot of small shapes. I could have them pretty far away. It's going to mean some really long lines. But for me, I'm just going to choose 2 spots, and I make nice dark dots so I don't lose them. They don't have to be in the very middle. Well, you could have 1 in the middle. Totally up to you, just 2 dots. Our next step is to take that ruler and draw the straight lines. In your practice work, you already did this. Choose one of the dots to start. I'm going to start with this one. And you're going to line up your ruler so nice and straight from dot, I'm checking my work, to dot. And then I spread out my fingers to hold it down neatly and nicely, and I'm gonna draw a straight line right to it. Remember, you don't have to push very hard. If you're pressing against the ruler moves around, right? We don't want that. So a nice light line, it could be medium. I mean, you just don't need to press too hard. I'm using my pencil to guide the ruler. Spread out my fingers, and next line. And you need to go around so that you get all the sides done. I'm gonna hurry up this process. I'm not drawing any dot or any lines to my second dot. I'm like ignoring that he even exists right now. It is all about this first dot that I've chosen and making nice straight lines. If you are hurrying your work, you might accidentally end up with something like this, and it's crashing in to those other lines. This is not gonna work for op art. This is a situation where you really do have to erase all of that. You gotta be careful of the good lines and do it again. Really take your time. A lot of times, students that struggle with this project are just students that rush. So take your time, and you're gonna be way happier with your outcome, and it's gonna be an artwork that you really wanna show off. Let me go ahead and finish this dot, and I'll catch up with you in a minute. Here's my artwork with all the lines going to this one dot. Here's my second dot, it's untouched. If you look at the middle, I'll even bring it up for you, it looks pretty nice and smooth. All these lines are going pretty close to the middle. There's a couple spots where it's a little gappy or a little close together, but they're all going towards the middle of the dot, not the outer edge, the middle. Here's a non-example. Here's an issue I see a lot of times, and again, usually from rushing, sometimes it's just having trouble with the ruler. This dot has lines that are going to the side of it and to this side of it. Can you see how these two cross way up here? In an actual op artwork like we're trying to make, it should smoothly go to the middle. Each line should be going to the middle of the dot. If you're having trouble with this, let me know. If yours is already this messy, I might just give you a brand new piece of paper. Otherwise, you need to erase them and try again. What I need to focus on is taking that ruler, putting my pencil on the dot so I know it's lined up, and then down here, this is going to the edge of the dot. What I need to do is put my pencil right in the middle of the dot and bring my ruler to there too. Then if I check them both out and make a nice straight line, it's going right to the middle of that dot. These are going to the outer edge. Make sure you're lining that pencil up. It's gonna help so much. Back to my op artwork, the one I'm taking my time on. I want to make sure yours is looking like this too. And now I'm going to make lines to this dot. Again, I'm going to every single outer dot to the middle. It'll get a little tricky when I draw through this one, but I want you to just ignore it. So you line up your ruler. I would start on an easier side first, one of the ones with a little more space to it, so that it doesn't confuse you right away. Remember, we're talking about the middle of the dot, so I line up my ruler and make that line. And it's already crossing. I bring my ruler over here, put it down, and make a line. From the middle dot, make a line. Now, these are going straight across, and you can see how they're starting to make those diamond shapes, or triangle shapes. Not triangle, sorry, diamond shapes or rectangle shapes. Let me show you on the more tricky side how I draw right through this dot as if it doesn't even exist. So here I line up this dot to this dot, nice straight line. This dot, I line it up to this dot, straight line. Now, it's starting to look a little crazy over here, but I'm gonna just ignore it like I didn't even know that dot was there, like I've never done this before, like it's the first time. And as I do that, it's gonna almost look like I'm drawing through the dot, but don't get worried about it. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to just go right through it like you don't even see it. Now we've passed it, but those lines look a little crazy, going right through it like I didn't even know it existed. And look, it already looks like it's bending, but you saw me draw that with a ruler. It's nice and straight. Love that op artwork. Love how it starts to wrinkle my brain, confuse me. Keep going, and I'm gonna speed up and just go around my whole artwork and catch up with you after. All right, here it is. I have now made a line from both dots all the way to the outer edge, each way. You can see those diamond shapes starting to show up. Now comes the coloring, and I'm really gonna strongly recommend that you make your first thing just by making a little mark, a little tick in the areas you need to color in. If you make a mistake, you're gonna be really bummed out, and we're using colored pencil, so you're not gonna be able to color over it. You need to go get your colored pencil and bring it over so you're ready to add the color. Throughout this project, you're going to need to make sure that your colored pencil is nice and sharp, especially in these tiny areas. In these bigger areas, it's not super important, but it'll still help you out. My tick is going to be a nice light mark, but it's going to help me a lot. I'm going to look over here where I see the big triangle coming in from the edge, and I'm going to not color those. I'm going to do this triangle, or not triangle, this diamond. See the diamond shape? You could outline it if it helps you with your colored pencil, or just make that little mark in the middle. Whatever's easiest for you, that'll help you recognize your coloring in this one. Then you go over. We're not worrying about the outer edge. I'm just coming to the next diamond. It's like that V that comes out from the dot. That's what I'm coloring in. The V that comes out from the dot. V, V, V. Now, these are going to get a little trickier. They're really skinny. So I'm still making the orange mark for myself because that's the color I'm using. But look, it doesn't really look like a diamond in here. It's almost just a triangle. And that's okay. That's going to happen sometimes. Then I'm going to mark this one. This is going to be also a confusing shape. I find the dot, I find the V that comes out of it. Once you've marked all the way around, I'd say go ahead and color it in so you start to see how it works. Find the V, make a mark. Don't make these marks too dark or you won't be able to match it when you're doing your coloring. It might happen and we'll work through it if it does, but here's the V. Again, it's changing shapes. And this one looks like a triangle, but there's my V, so coming out from that dot, I know I'm coloring this one. This one's super skinny. I could even color it in right now just using this colored pencil. It's so tiny and it goes all the way to the middle. Most of these have been way on the outside. This one's all the way in the middle and that's okay. That's why we're following this pattern. Here's the V coming out from the dot, out from the dot, 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 dot. All right, we've got 4 more. Dot, dot. The V comes out of there. That's what I want to color. Cool. Now I'd go around and color each of those shapes in, making sure I'm outlining the edge and making it really crisp and clean. After you've colored it in nicely, I'm looking for awesome 4th, 5th, almost middle school coloring, where it's even. I shouldn't see holes in your paper. If you see an area that's not quite as dark, you should be fixing that up. And you're going to color all of those in, and then you're going to look again and come over and skip an area and do the next one. So let me color in a few of these, and I'll have you do that with me. So here I am, going really close to the edge, but I'm not going outside of the lines. You guys are 5th graders. There's no coloring outside of the lines unless you're doing it on purpose, which would be crazy. A little bit more. Now I could sharpen my pencil between here, but for the sake of time, I really want to make sure you guys are with me on this. Now that I've colored these guys in, I can start to see this gap that I want to make. And it's so hard to see before you color them in that's why we take it just like one area at a time. You'll find out as you get to started working which areas are better for you. Now, I'm going to skip these ones. I'm not leaving any marks because I want it to be a pattern of colored in, white, colored in, white. So this is white. So really, again, like this point was, I go to the end, the pointed corner, and I'm coloring in this one. I go to the pointed little corner, very bottom of it, and I'm coloring in this one. It's like pointing to it. Or I'm coloring in this one. There's one other way to look at it, and I'm going to show you that too. If I bring these lines so that they're almost going straight for me, it's a pattern. I'm coloring in one, skipping one, coloring in one, skipping one, coloring in one, skipping one, coloring in one, and you can kind of follow it down to the point. It does get really skinny in here, so you need a sharpened pencil. So I'd skip one, and just a tiny bit of orange in there. That's one I'm coloring in. I like to do this outer edge first, and then as I'm working, sometimes I'll do it this way. Make sure you don't rush. It will get a little confusing, because this one, even though it starts at the same place, it goes almost every other one this direction. You'll see as it starts to develop, just take your time. I'd color this one, skip one, color this one, skip one, color this one. So remember, you can either go around, skip some diamonds, go around again, or you can follow those lines if that's easier for you. Color, skip, color. Go ahead and get working on that color, and I'm going to show you at the end what that op art looks like and also what we can do if we make a mistake. Here's what it looks like at the end of your project once you've colored in every other diamond shape. This middle does get really confusing, so just take it nice and slow. Here's where it's like perfect little squares, and then it changes to diamonds, and here it gets really stretched too. Now, it might happen that you accidentally color more than one. I made that mistake on the edge. Instead of coloring the diamonds, I accidentally all of a sudden started coloring the outer edge, these outer little triangles. And you may not notice when you see it at first, but if you do, if it's bothering me, what I can do now is I can go ahead and just color the whole way around so that it looks like these are just really big diamonds or triangle shapes. See how that could look like I did it on purpose? If for some reason you skip a row or accidentally do that in here, I just want you to make it so that these look like these diamonds are, it may actually be four connected, but when someone first looks at your project, they won't know that. They'll think that this whole row is just really big diamonds all the way across. If you have an issue like that, leave it be and try and reconnect with your pattern and keep going, and then bring it to me. I'd love to sit down with you and help you through that process, but if you just start coloring and getting confused, slow down and come bring it to me. We'll work through it. I want to make sure these op artworks are amazing. Now it should be time for you to go ahead and get your belongings. Remember, you've got to use a nice straight ruler. You've got to follow those dots to keep it all in order to make it a really nice, popping, eye-catching op artwork.